allowed to proceed to my line of questioning.
Yes, the Honorable Garin.
Tawagan kita, King. Very prominent, Mr. Chair, sa mga narinig kong mga kasama natin kanina, ang katanungan po ng lahat is, how do we clean Philhealth? Pwede ko po bang marinig sa ating mga official ngayon kung sino po ang makakasagot dun sa tanong na how do we clean Philhealth? Yeah, Mr. Chair, if may we request Dr. Pargas, Dr. Ish, to answer the question of how do we clean Philhealth?
Mr. Chair, Madam Congresswoman, well, for one po, gaya po ng palaging nababanggit ng ating President and CEO, we need a robust information technology system because currently right now our IT systems as identified is not integrated, it is fragmented, and so we need our system so that our checks on this ay mas madali po dahil ito ay magiging kabit-kabit. May mga ganun pong pagkakataon na kinakailangan.
Mr. Chair, with due courtesy, if I may be allowed to interject, Ish, can you please give direct answers? Huwag na po yung paikot-ikot kasi sayang po yung oras. So, how do you intend to clean Philhealth? First, you said you need a robust IT. Next,
We need to have policy changes po.
what specific policy changes, Mr. Chair?
Well, for one po, katulad nito, nakikita po natin yung sa provider payment mechanism na nagkakaroon po tayo ng mga issues. So we have to go and check what is the most appropriate provider payment mechanism that we can have. We also need to have a review on our business processes so that we can have a definite reorganization and organizational structural change para mo mas maging adaptable siya doon sa pangangailangan ng ating mga ngayon, especially going towards UHC, and of course, in making sure that we have people who are really capable on providing the services. Third is, of course, cleansing the organization because as it is, right now there are alleged corruption and there are alleged wrongdoings, I suppose, happening as alleged again. And
So, Mr. Chair, distinguished resource person, by your statement alone, you are admitting that there are a lot of wrongdoings and corruption in Philhealth.
Mr. Chair, again, as I've said, those are alleged and
No, Mr. Chair, the answer was very direct. How do we clean Philhealth? And Dr. Ish Vargas gave 4 answers. IT, policy changes, specifically on provider payment mechanism, review of business processes, and putting changes in the organization because of corruption, alleged corruption. If you are proposing, Mr. Chair, to clean Philhealth by that way, therefore you're admitting that there has been corruption or there is corruption in Philhealth.
Mr. Chair, Madam Congresswoman, again, as I've said, there are alleged corruption, and so we have to really look into that.
Now, Mr. Chair, my point is this. Ang katanungan po, paano lilinisin ng Philhealth? Ang sabi niyo magkaroon ng reorganization para mawala ang korupsyon at fraud sa Philhealth. Are you saying that you were just speaking and giving us flowery words to joderize the current status of Philhealth?
Congresswoman Garin, kanina nga po inamin na nga ni Dr. Vargas, may 3 billion ang nawala. And if we go back to 2018, may nawawalang pondo, period. As to sinong nagiging corrupt, hindi pa natin alam. Pero as to the allegation of corruption, meron. Honorable Garin, please continue.
Yeah, may we ask that direct question to Dr. Vargas? Vargas, may nawawala po ba o hindi? O wala?
If it is due to, Madam
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Chair,
can we request Dr. Pargas to answer with a yes or no? Kasi ang napapansin ko lang po, hindi lang po ngayon. Sa ilang mga nakaraang hearings ng Philhealth, masyado pang magaling si Ish sa paikot-ikot ng mga sagot. And sometimes these indirect answers are actually geared towards diffusing the facts or misleading the investigators. So please answer the question. Is there corruption in Philhealth or none?
Mr. Chair, Madam Congresswoman, I cannot confirm po.
Ano po?
I cannot confirm po.
Kasi nagbabago ngayon.
Ito, may kino-confirm kami nawawalang pera.
Opo.
Okay, so may nawawalang pera, hindi pa natin alam kung sino ang may gawa.
Mr. Chair, at hindi ko rin po alam kung ito ay dahil sa korupsyon.
Kasi may nawawalang pera, baka nahulog sa bintana. Hindi po siya napunta sa korupsyon. O baka nawala siya kasi meron ibang nagbit-bit. Ganun po ba?
Kaya nga po sa ngayon, nagkakaroon ng mga tinatawag na ganitong investigasyon, kaya rin po may mga nakafile na kaso sa aming legal para po patunayan kung talaga pong merong mga nawawala na nagkakaroon sa korupsyon.
Susundan mo yung question ng Kong Galina. May nawawalang pera, umamin ka na, no? Sabi mo, may nawawalang pera. Hindi natin alam kung kagagawan ng mga taga-PhilHealth o kagagawan ng ospital.
Opo, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Okay.
Congressman Galina.
Mr. Chair, next question. Ilang taon ka na po ish sa PhilHealth? How many years have you been with PhilHealth?
Mr. Chair, Madam Congresswoman, ako po ay napunta sa Philhealth noong 1999.
How many years have you been in
that's
PhilHealth?
roughly-
Direct answer please. Isa, dalawa, 5, 10.
Less than 21 years po.
How many years?
Less than 21 years po.
20 or 21 years?
Yes po.
21 years. Yeah. May I request, Mr. Chair, distinguished resource person, please don't waste the time of this committee. Please give us direct answers. Huwag na po tayo dun sa palaging palusot na paikot-ikot, na walang galang na po. No? So you have been in PhilHealth with 21 years. And earlier you mentioned that you are proposing changes in PhilHealth. Sa panahon niyo po, in the 21 years that you have been with PhilHealth, why is it that you have not contributed to reforms in your institution?
Please answer directly, Mr. Vargas.
Mr. Chair, in my own ways po, tayo po ay nakatulong sa korporasyon. Unang-una, ako po ay nagsimula bilang medical evaluator sa region, sa claims processing. Pangalawa po, nung po tayo ay nagkaroon ng pagkakataong maging manager ng benefits development, tayo po ay nakapagpalabas ng mga polisiya, lalo kasama na po dito yung no balance billing, and initially we started with the 23 case rates. After that po, no ako po ay nasa
Teka,
communication.
pasensya na po, halat me interject. Mr. Chair, ulitin ko lang po. Malaki po ang naitulong niyo sa PhilHealth because number 1, you proposed the no balance billing. Number 2, you proposed the initial 23 case rates. Tama po ba ang naririnig ko?
Kasama po kami dahil kami po yung nasa benefits during that time, noon pong nagkaroon tayo ng initial 23
Mr.
case
Chair,
rates
with
no
that,
balance.
may we request the Secretariat to request an itemized list of actions done by Dr. Ish Vargas on how he has contributed to cleansing the institution that has been connected for the past 21 years. Let me move forward.
The committee secretary is directed to get all the documents pertaining to what Congressman Janet Garen is asking, pertaining to all the contribution of Mr. Vargas, and thereby, accordingly, all these documents have been approved by the PhilHealth board as well. So ordered.
Thank you, Mr.
Go ahead.
Chair. Ayoko na po sanang magtanong, but then because I was here the whole day and prior to coming here, I was on Zoom listening to answers, to some of the answers. Medyo nakaka-insulto po kasi lalo na kapag may mga naririnig tayong mga jodorizer o mga kasinungalingan. Unang-una po, let me point earlier the statement of our chair. Our Honorable Chair mentioned that in 2014, bigla pong tumaas yung pneumonia, acute gastroenteritis, and there were a lot of other illnesses. The slides are actually in my office because I was listening from there. Mr. Chair, just for purposes of transparency, I became the chairman of the board of Philhealth for 1 year and 4 months, approximately. At ang una ko pong nakita na medyo nakakapagtaka, ito nga pong tinuro ng ating butihing chairman, Congressman Mike Defensor. And the Congress and Senate has passed a lot of good laws. Simulan ko lang po yung pinakamalaking reason why there are a lot of fraudulent claims related to pneumonia, gastritis, hypertension, name it, you have it. Pwede ko po bang tanungin, Mr. Chair, ang ating butihing resource person, kailan po ba ipinasa ang Senior Citizens Law?
Madam Congresswoman, the effectivity date of RA number 10645 or the Senior Citizens Law expansion is, I will have to check on this, is November 2014.
So the Senior Citizens Law was passed on November 2014. Mr. Chair, napaka-importante po ng petsa na ito. Because this will display how laws with good intentions are actually abused by people who should have taken care of the members of Philhealth's money. November 2014, ipinasa ang Senior Citizens Law. Nakasaad po doon yung membership ng ating mga senior citizens para po sila maging miyembro ng Philhealth, lalo na po yung mga walang trabaho. My next question, Mr. Chair, is this. Dr. Vargas, kailan po ito napirmahan ng Presidente ng Pilipinas? November 2014 was the approval in Congress or in Senate?
Madam Chair, Mr. Chair, Madam Congress, ko po alam kung ano yung exact dates.
So November 2014 is what? The approval in Congress or Senate or the approval of the Office of the President?
Effectivity date po of RA number 10645.
Meaning, effectivity date, this is the day that that proposed measure was signed into law. This was approved by Congress either September or October, somewhere during that time. At dahil pinirmahan nga ng Pangulo, nakasaad po doon na bibigyan ng pondo para ma-enroll yung ating mga senior citizens. Kailan niyo po in-enroll sa Philhealth yung ating mga senior citizens na hindi pa miyembro ng Philhealth?
I would think sometime in 2015, Dr. Vargas. 2015. I'm sorry. If it's November, yung
2016, Mr.
yes,
Chairman.
yes.
Yeah. Para lang po sa kaalaman ng lahat, no? Pagka tayo nagpapasa ng isang batas, dumadaan po siya sa Pangulo ng Republika ng Pilipinas, pinipirmahan, and after that law, it is funded. Because the law was passed in November, a point at which the budget for the next year and 2015 has already been made and approved, isinasama na siya dun sa pondo ng 2016. Mr. Chair, tama po ba ako?
Yes, Honorable Garin, you're correct.
Kasi dun po sa presentation mo kanina, isa lang po ang sagot doon. When Congress passed the law in October of 2014, right there and then, the next day, Dr. Ish Pargas immediately went on a press conference and informed all senior citizens to avail of many services. At yan po ang naging puno at simula ng paghahakot ng ating mga lolo at lola na akala nila para sa kanilang kapakanan. And I was surprised because during this time I was somewhere in Mindanao and I saw a truck full of passengers. Una, akala ko mamimiesta. Pangalawa, akala ko may namatay. Sabi ko, mahirap naman dun, ang daming senior. It was only after a few weeks and a few months that I realized na ito pala inahakot sa iba't ibang mga clinic, and the senior citizens law became an excuse for Philhealth and their cohorts to rob the people's money. Can Dr. Ish Pargas affirm to that?
Dr. Vargas?
Madam Chair, Mr. Chair, Madam Congresswoman, there was a board resolution in 2014 that the entitlement to the identified programs for senior citizens shall commence on November 25, 2014, which is the effectivity date of RA 10645. It was a board resolution 1922, series of 2014, and after that po, a circular was issued also in 2014 as the implementing guidelines for the mandatory PhilHealth coverage of senior citizens.
Okay, Mr.
Yes,
Chair,
go on to that.
ang sinasagot po ng ating resource person, ang sinasabi niyo po, dahil noong 2014, nagkaroon ng board resolution na i-implement na yung panukalang batas na ito. When did you come out in a press conference and announce to the whole country and inform all the hospitals and the regional vice presidents to let the senior citizens avail of the check-up that brings them to the hospital where they are given free food, but their PhilHealth availments are actually depleted?
Mr. Chair, Madam Congresswoman, I don't remember na po. I apologize.
Pwede mo po bang ma-search? Bibigyan, may wifi naman po dito. Di ba may date po doon kung kailan yung in-announce yun? And this was a subject of several meetings we had, Ish. And I even asked you several times, why did you have to announce in public? Lahat ng senior citizens, magpa-konsulta kayo, magpa-check up kayo, magpa-admit kayo, kasi libre na babayaran ang ospital nyo. And I asked you, why do you have to do that? You did it a day after Congress approved the bill on third reading, even before the President signed the law. So, Mr. Chair, let me move forward. Kasi hindi pa mahirap hanapin yung date ng press ko na yun kapag ikaw yung nag-announce. Ibig sabihin, ginagawa pa lang yung batas, nakaantabay na yung mga magnanakaw. Dahil in-announce na kaagad at ready na yung lahat na pagkapirma ng batas, naghakot na ng mga lolo at lola. Despite the fact, Mr. Chair, that DBM did not release the funds for the enrollment. I am not saying that we don't give them free services. We should. But what is glaring here, wala pang ang batas, wala pang IRR, hindi pa napapondohan ng DBM, in-implement nila. And Philhealth recorded that as collectibles. Kaya nga po, ni-record nyo na may collectible kayo ng Senior Citizens Premium ng 2014, Senior Citizens Premium ng 2015, and ng 2016, kinokolekta nyo times 3 the actual premium. That is the reason, Mr. Chair, kung pwede pong makuha ng komitiba yung mga datos at mga dokumento that will support what we found out, because that will explain the graphs that you presented earlier. Let me move forward. Ang masakit po kasi, ilang announcement na ang narinig natin na yung frontliners o yung mga doktor, yung mga laboratory personnel, yung mga nag-handle ng hospitals at mga pasyente natin may COVID ay libre ang kanilang COVID tests. Do you affirm this?
Mr. Chair, Madam Congresswoman, ang polisiya po natin pagdating sa COVID testing ay kung sino po yung nasusulat sa DOH Department Memorandum for the testing, sila po yung
Yes, Mr. Chair, the frontliners, the healthcare workers na nag-aalaga sa ating mga pasyente ay nasa DOH protocol po. At kaya nga po ang presumption ng lahat ay covered sila. Unfortunately, the laboratories that are testing them are now asking them to pay dahil hindi raw sila binabayaran ng Philhealth. Kasi ang sagot daw po ng Philhealth, in-announce yan, pero wala pa yung guidelines. Do you already have the guidelines? Whether frontliners, direct frontliners, and I mean medical workers, hospital workers, doctors, medtechs, nurses, people inside the hospital catering to our patients are already covered by Philhealth.
Mr. Chair, Madam Congresswoman, again, with our circular po doon sa testing, naka-attach po doon ang guidelines ng DOH kung sino po yung covered. So effectively po, kasama po doon ang ating mga frontline health workers, Mr. Chair.
So doon po sa inyong guidelines, ang sinasabi po, pagkapag ikaw frontliner, bayad na ang testing mo.
Again, kasama po yun doon sa guidelines. Kung sila po ay...
What guidelines, Mr. Chair? Is it Philhealth guidelines or DOH guidelines?
Doon po sa kung sino po ang i-cover for the testing, yun po ay nasa DOH guidelines. Doon naman po sa testing circular guidelines namin, doon po nakasulat yung package kung magkano. And again, nakalagay din po doon na dapat ito po ay co-pay.
Ano nakalagay doon na?
No co-pay po.
Okay. Mr. Chair, medyo may gray area po. Ish, can you answer us directly? If DOH issues a guideline or merong memorandum ang Department of Health, Mr. Chair, yan po ba ay automatic na memorandum na rin ng Philhealth or hindi? Yes or no, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Do you mean to say that if the Secretary of Health or an Undersecretary issues a memorandum, it's an automatic memorandum of Philhealth?
Mr. Chair, Madam Congresswoman, as I understand po, Philhealth being an attached agency, and of course the chairperson is the Department of Health, then we will follow the...
No, Mr. Chair, my question is direct. Please give me a direct answer.
Mr. Chair, as I understand, yes.
So pag merong memorandum ang DOH, automatic memorandum na ng Philhealth yun?
No, Mr. Chair,
You don't issue a board resolution or guidelines for that matter? Because I can present to you all the requirements like Yolanda. Nung nagkaroon ng announcement, ang Secretary of Health that all the patients will be covered. Philhealth convened the board, and the board issued a resolution to support the Secretary.
Mr. Chair, Madam Congresswoman, I clarify, yes po, all our policies would have to go through the board resolution or through the board being the governing policy in order to adapt any policies of the government po. Tama.
Because Philhealth is a GOCC. It is not directly under the Department of Health. Right? That's why the Secretary of Health sits as the chair of the board, and many other people sits in the board representing other government agencies. So ulitin po natin, and please confirm this, kapag meron pong direktiba ang Department of Health, hindi po yun automatic sa PhilHealth. The board convenes, issues a memorandum, and you come up with guidelines for the implementation. Tama o mali?
Mr. Chair, tama po. That's why with the circular guidelines po natin,
Kaya
attached
po,
siya.
tama po. So Mr. Chair, ang sinasabi at inuulit po ng ating PhilHealth officials ngayon, kapag merong memorandum ang Department of Health, kailangan ang PhilHealth mag-convene and they decide whether they accept it or not. After accepting it, they come up with guidelines so that it will be implemented. Klaro po tayo doon. Can I again get your confirmation on this?
Mr. Chair, Madam Congresswoman, as far as I know, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kasi ang nakakapagtaka po, sinasabi niyong covered kasi nasa DOH algorithm, pero wala kayong ginawang guidelines. Kaya tuloy ngayon, gray area, sinasabi niyong covered, pero yung ating mga frontliners, yung mga doctors, nurses, nagkakamatayan na nga sila. And their testing is not covered. Sila pa ang nagbabayad. Pinapabayad sila dahil yung mga laboratories hindi na nire-refund nyo dahil walang guidelines. Pero sa senior citizens law, mabilis pa sa kidlat na inimplementa nyo ito maski wala pang guidelines o wala pang IRR ang batas at wala pang pondo na binibigay sa inyo for enrollment. Nakikita niyo po ba ang diferensya?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Madam Congresswoman, again po, just to say lang po, there was already a board resolution in November.
Can you give me a copy of the board resolution?
Yes po, we will provide po the
This is a board resolution on the frontliners for COVID testing.
No, this is on the senior citizen, but for the testing po, we will provide also the board.
Meron na ba talagang guidelines ang PhilHealth stating for a fact that testing of frontliners is covered or not? Because I will now move to the next question whether it's tenable or untenable. Because you check the frontliners every 3 weeks. So you have to have a special fund for that. Anyway, Mr. Chair, just so as not to waste time, ang ibig po ditong sabihin, may batas na ginawa para sa ating mga senior citizens para bigyan sila ng benepisyo, hindi pa man napipirmahan yung batas, wala pa mang IRR, wala pang pondo, hindi pa in-enroll, hinakot na. Ginawan ng sakit na lahat may high blood, lahat may pneumonia, lahat may acute gastroenteritis, yung iba may diarrhea, at inubos ang pondo ng PhilHealth. This explains, Mr. Chair, the second problem, yung admin cost. Kasi po, para po malaki ang magastos nila dun sa mga biyahe, mga meeting, at kung mga ano-anong activities, binubloat yung income ng PhilHealth. So the law, like the senior citizens law, was actually used to claim retroactive premiums. Is that allowed in the context of our laws, Mr. Chair? May I ask anybody here who's handling the finance or the admin side of PhilHealth?
Anyone can reply to the Honorable Garin? So retroactive premiums.
Ang nangyari po, pinag-uusapan pa lang sa Kongreso yung Senior Citizens Law na you don't have to be an indigent, automatic member ka na. Nag-announce na sila, in-implement na nila. Kaya hinakot yung mga lolo at lola, chinek up kunyari, pagkatapos ang katutak at bilyones ang siningil sa Philhealth. When we found out about this triggered us to initiate classification of pneumonia. At ang nangyari po, dahil 2016 pa yung pondo na na-enroll sila, ginawa nilang retroactive. Kaya ang sinasabi nila, may collectible sila, maski wala naman. This
Honorable Garin, so 2016 yung pondo lumabas, pero inobligate nila sa 2014.
Lumabas yung 2014, hinahakot na. Basta mag-senior ka, mag-avail ka na. At ang ginawa naman, dun naman sa kanilang income, pinalabas nila na yung 2014 may binayad na premium. 2015, pinalabas din na collectible. Bakit? Kasi yung kanilang admin cost o yung gastusin sa mga biyahe at mga meeting is based on a certain percentage to the gross income. Siyempre, if you declare your income triple to what it is actually is, then you have a higher budget. Not only that, Mr. Chair, if we can also look at the issue of said premiums, there was also a time when they increased the premium of all the members.
Honorable Garin, yeah. Since I understand Dr. Vargas understands this, tama po ba yung sinasabi ni Congresswoman Garin?
Mr. Chair, sorry, I will have to defer to the finance and to the...
But I would assume that she knows what she's saying because she was there and she knew what happened.
And she was the one who kept on announcing it and leading the program.
Is this correct, Dr. Vargas?
Again, Mr. Chair, I was the spokesperson then of the corporation.
No. I'm not referring to you directly. Ang tanong ko lang yung sinasabi ni Congresswoman Garin na merong mga nag-early enrollment tapos ginawa nilang 2016 lumabas yung pondo, naging payable ng Philhealth.
Ako ang responsible for those billings and collection and on the finances po.
Mr. Chair, pwede ko bang, can I rephrase my question?
Sige po.
Yeah. In the meetings that you were present in Philhealth and in all the official and unofficial discussions, Dr. Vargas, did you ever encounter a discussion wherein it was being questioned why you already implemented the program pero hindi pa sila enrolled at hindi pa nababayaran yung premium nila?
Mr. Chair, Madam Congresswoman, I will have to recall po.
Mr. Chair,
Congresswoman Garin, may I know, sino po ba ang nag-head ng legal and finance at that time?
maybe we can ask Philhealth, Mr. Chair.
Do you know who was the head at the time of the legal and finance? Because these are all connected. Isa lang po ba yan o dalawang tao?
Iba po ang sa finance during the time.
Who was the head of finance at the time, Dr. Vargas? Kung sino po may alam, wala naman pong problema. Simple question.
Mr. Chair, Madam Congresswoman, I'm not sure po. Baka po si Mr. Greg Rolyoda. According to our finance.
Sino po?
Mr. Gregorio Rolyoda.
Mr. Gorio
Rolyoda.
Rolyola. Sige, Comsec, can we invite the person at the time, 2014, Pluton, or 2015? Who was the head of legal at the time? Congressman, maybe, baka po
They would know the people there, Mr. Chair. They were going to the same office every day.
So who's the head of legal at the time?
Nakakapagtaka naman po na hindi marami kayong hindi ma-recall. I didn't know, Mr. Chair, that temporary amnesia is now a trend.
Yes, Dr. Yes, Dr. Perez.
Mr. Chair, I am not sure for 2014-2015 if it is Attorney Jermaine Lim. Asuncion. Mr. Chair, Attorney Asuncion, Ed Asuncion.
Attorney Asuncion. So, Comsec, kindly assist us in getting the name and if we can invite the persons mentioned. Mr. Relioda is in Zoom right now. Gregorio Relioda and Attorney Asuncion. Yan po yung dalawa.
Mr. Chair, Madam Congresswoman, I am not sure with the legal during that time. We can confirm and we can check.
Okay, when the president was President Alex Padilla, who was the head of legal?
Attorney Ed Asuncion.
Ed Asuncion. Okay, so anyway, we'll just verify and we'll invite the person. Congressman Garin, kindly
Yes.
continue.
Mr. Chair, in addition to that, ito po kasing scheme ng senior citizens. Yan po ang masakit na kunyari, concern sa senior citizens, pero ginamit sila to do fraudulent acts para po akutin yung mga lolo at mga lola at maging rason para ilabas yung mga bilyon-bilyong pondo ng Philhealth. There was also an instance where the collectibles that they are referring to, nagtaas ng premium ang Philhealth, and they also retroactively implemented it. Ibig sabihin, nagtaas sila ng premium, in-implement kagad ng private sector, pero dahil yung mga government offices that would entail a budget from the DBM, meron pong finance cover yan, it was implemented after, I think, a year or two. Again, ginawa nila yon na collectibles. Para po ang nagiging attitude, pag merong board resolution, agad-agad dapat nandiyan na yung pera, even if there is no corresponding appropriation. Kapareho po ng scheme ng senior citizens. Again, this was added as part of the collectibles. Maybe if Greg Relioda, the finance head, is on Zoom, he can answer that.
Mr. Relioda is recognized.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening. Right now, I am now the concurrent regional vice president of NCR. The senior citizens po noon is that because of the board resolution with regards that the program is now to be implemented. So that's the reason, because of the enrollment of these senior citizens, what is really the listed list of senior citizens is the one that was recorded as a receivable in the DBM because of the implementing rules and regulation of that. So that was recorded, and we got a unqualified opinion for those years when we book it up as receivables.
Mr. Chair, clarify nga natin kay
Yes, go ahead.
Greg. Yeah, he mentioned that because there was a board resolution, they have to immediately implement the law. Tama po ba?
Yun po yung naging basis namin, ma'am, for the...
Yes or no? Because there was a board resolution, you have to immediately implement the law. Yun ba ang ibig niyong sabihin?
Yeah, that's the basis of our recording, ma'am.
Okay. So pagka merong board resolution, maski hindi pa pirmado ang batas, o maski wala pang IRR, you have to implement it. Question is this: how can you implement a law if there is no accompanying IRR yet?
The legal department can, I cannot answer for that, ma'am, but I think our legal later on can answer for that.
Okay. Greg, you were the finance head. Pagka sinabing i-implement niyo ito, titingnan mo ba kung bayad na yung premium o hindi pa? To limanize it, whenever you consider a certain person or a certain family as member of an insurance company, can he or she be a member without payment of his or her premium?
Ma'am, because this is a mandated,
Yes or no? You're a finance person. Ikaw ang finance head. Let's say, sasabihin ni Congressman Mike Defensor, i-enroll niyo si Janet. Bibigay niyo sa kanya ang lahat ng benepisyo ng Philhealth. Pero ayaw pang bayaran ng Kongreso ang premium ko. Am I already a member or not yet?
based on the board resolution that the effectivity of the senior citizens law, they are automatic members based on that legal basis as
We request Mr. Greg Rolyoda to just come to Congress on the next hearing. Mahirap po kasi yung pinapaikot-ikot yung mga sagot eh.
sige.
Napakasimple po ng tanong, kaya pong sagutin yun ng high school student. Kapag ikaw ba ay gagawing miyembro ng insurance, kung hindi ka pa nagbabayad ng premium mo, miyembro ka na ba o hindi pa?
The mere fact that there's an automatic membership of the senior citizen based on that board resolution, it is presumed that they are members. But I am willing to be there in the next hearing so that I can also.
I move that we request the presence of Mr. Greg Rolyoda in the next hearing. And for the record, let us put it on record and check who are the people who are continuously twisting interpretations, legal interpretations. Kasi sa buong mundo, Mr. Chairman, ngayon lang po ako nakarinig ng insurance na maski hindi ka pa nagbayad ng premium, member ka na. Meaning, if we now deliberate on a law, because the board is a governing body, but supposed to be the day-to-day operations, including membership, will have to be provided by the career people inside the institution. Mr. Chair, if this is the way Philhealth is operating, surely it's very obvious that they cannot continue existing. Kasi kung ang utak mo, miyembro ka na, maski hindi ka nagbabayad ng premium, edi ibig sabihin, talagang magko-collapse yan. So I would have further questions on that, Mr. Chair, kay Mr. Greg Rolyoda na lang. What was that instance where you also had a lot of collectibles pointing to the fact na nag-board resolution kayo, in-increase yung premium, pero wala pang pondo yung gobyerno, but you already considered it as added income, actual income. Can you also provide the documents for that?
We will provide the documents for that.
Bulgarin, so Mr. Wilyoda, so in the next hearing on Monday, we will resume on Monday 9 a.m. We expect you to be here in the plenary committee hearing, Mr. Wilyoda.
Yes, and that, Mr. Chair, is very important because that will also explain why there was a lot of wastage. Next, Mr. Chair, no, earlier again, Dr. Ish mentioned, paulit-ulit niyo po kasing sinasabi yung USAID. I am wondering, Mr. Chair, because USAID is a very prestigious organization. USAID na po ba pala ang gumagawa ng packages for Philhealth?
Mr. Chair, Madam Congresswoman, hindi naman po, but we sought their help, especially with regard to the costing, and we were provided with help by the Palladium of the USAID.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, may I request that we request Philhealth and you to provide us a document where USAID is contributing or funding or estimating or crafting cost of tests.
Mr. Chair, Madam Congresswoman, they are not funding po, but they provided the technical assistance.
So meron itong there are documentary attachments regarding this.
Yes, Mr. Chair, and in fact, even during our board presentation, with regard to the presentation on the costing and the cost elements, it was the Palladium which actually presented.
It was
The Palladium po, which is under the USAID.
so sorry, Mr. Chair, hindi ko maintindihan. Okay, okay. So can we have documents of that? Because I'm not sure if that is within the gambit of the USAID. Kasi mahirap po yung ganun na it's very difficult for us to just follow hook, line, and sinker recommendations of groups who do not have the expertise in so far as health financing is concerned. I am not aware of experts on health financing that USAID is providing in terms of viability of public health insurances.
Honorable Garin, just a quick interjection before you continue. I am in receipt of a letter signed by Attorney Makabato, Romeo Alberto, Datu Alonto, Johnny Sichua, and Dennis Adre, sometime in mid-2000, that they already wrote a letter. These are the Mindanao group about the all case rate. And they were already asking na tanggalin na to kasi nag-worry sila na mauubos ang pondo ng ating Philhealth. If they are here right now, kung nasa Zoom po sila, kung pwede mo makakuha ng official submission yun, ng letter na to, and if there is a record in Philhealth Central, if we may be provided with that. So I'm sorry, Honorable Garin, please continue.
Yeah, that's very good, Mr. Chair, because I personally, together with the staff that I brought in to Philhealth, initiated the review of the case rates. Kagaya po ng pneumonia, it was just blanket pneumonia. At ang una po namin tinanong doon, paano isang araw pneumonia ka na? Because there were a lot of admissions na isang araw lang. Yun nga senior citizens law, kunyari, hinahakot yung mga lolo at lola, ina-admit ng isang araw, lalagyan ng pneumonia, swak na kaagad. And this is very glaring. Kasi truck jeep alam ng lahat ng mga barangay. And they were actually seekers. So, reviews were conducted. In fact, we required a minimum of at least 2 to 3 days. Was it 3 days admission?
Yes, Mr. Chair. 72 days, 96 days.
72 days admission.
72 hours, 96 hours.
Kasi ang naging trend po, makikita mo, magpapa-admit ng Saturday, lalabas ng Sunday. Parang nag-one night na relax ka lang. Pero yun naman, relax din yung Philhealth, mauubos ang pondo. And it's very scientifically speaking, it's impossible that you end up with pneumonia and you just get admitted for a day. So we requested X-ray results and all that. My question is this, Mr. Chair, why is it that the review of case rates stopped when I left Philhealth? Bakit mo hininto?
Mr. Chair, Madam Congresswoman, again, I was in corporate affairs until early 2018. So, I mean, during that time, Mr. Chair, Madam Congresswoman, I was not part of the sector.
Okay. Direct question again, Mr. Chair. Hininto ba yung review ng case rates o hindi? Was it stopped or was it continued?
Mr. Chair, I think it was continued because, again, as stated by Madam Congresswoman, for example, in the pneumonia, there was a requirement of the length of stay together with other diseases.
No, Mr. Chair, pasensya na po. I think Rich did not get my question. My statement earlier said that I initiated review of case rates. When I left, it suddenly stopped. So yung tanong ko, bakit hininto o bakit pinahinto?
Again, Mr. Chair.
No, not the case rates that were already adjusted. Those were already implemented. Pero una lang yun we only reviewed dialysis and pneumonia. There was supposed to be cesarean, AGE, pasunod-sunod na yun Bakit huminto? Who made it stop?
Again, Mr. Chair, I came back to the health finance policy sector only in mid-2018. So I cannot answer for this tapping or the question.
Okay, the answer, Mr. Chair, is he refused to answer dahil hindi siya kasama dun sa opisina. Next question. Another strategy that we embarked on to curb fraud was the stop payment mechanism. Because if you review the history in Philhealth, ang daming fraudulent claims, wala kang laban kasi ang isasagot sa iyo palagi, hintayin na lang na matapos sa Supreme Court. And that will take several years. And while the case is taking its toll in the courts up to the Supreme Court, patuloy naman ang fraudulent activities. And our assessment during that time, if you have, let's say, Hospital A